Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name is Christine, and in this video I'm going to talk about a multitude of different mediums, and we're going to see does it foil or not. So I have all these backgrounds that I've done from like inky backgrounds or through different technique demos that I was showing you over the last couple months, and I decided with the talking about how earlier video resist spray, how it will foil, made me think of what else will foil. So I took these backgrounds and I ran them through, and so I'm going to share my findings with you. Now this one was just Ranger's texture paste, and I found that it didn't fully foil, but you can see around the edges little bits. So you won't get a solid foiling, but that's cool too, that you have that edging and that foiled, and then you can add more inks or do different things. So you can see here, just like where it's solid is where it actually foiled. So it doesn't fully foil, but you could still get a cool technique from that. So then I had, this was probably texture paste as well, but this one has the distress oxides over it. And when I put it through, only a few little tiny little areas, like you can't really see it. It's not worth being a technique, right? But I had the same thing, so I'll move that one. So this one was the same, but instead of the oxides, this had this had Dina Wakley's gloss paint, spray paint over it. I have some here. I can just show you what I'm talking about. The gloss sprays was over top of this texture paste, and I think it's the gloss sprays that actually the foil stuck onto. So again, you don't get that solid, but you do get a lot of areas that are foiled, and here you can see like where it picked it up and where it didn't. So you can still get, I like that sort of randomness, especially if you're doing mixed media. We don't always want it solid, we want it just in random areas. So I like the look. So this was a texture paste that had been sprayed over with gloss sprays. And I'm going to put the links below if there was any products or stencils or that interested you. So this is just a black gesso, or a black texture paste, sorry. It's raised up, and again, the odd little speck picked up, but not enough for it to be a technique. So I think this was by the Crafters Workshop, the texture paste, and so I found that that one did not foil. But then this is interesting, because we have, there's texture paste, but over the texture paste there was acrylic paint. So I don't think so much the texture paste was being embossed, but because of the paint over that, it was. So down here, this was a die cut, but again, the die cut had acrylic paint over it, and so it picked it up there. And here on this crackle paste, again, I think it was the paint that picked up the foil. And down here, the crackle paste itself doesn't foil, but because I had that layer of paint, I got random foiling all over it. So again, from the mixed media standpoint, it's super cool because it's almost random. You don't fully know where it will foil, but you'll get some interesting stuff. Whereas here is just texture paste, and you can see that texture paste didn't really foil. Over here it foiled because I think that's gel medium, and the gel medium foils. So you can see, like, because this was water-based mediums, whereas this was acrylic paint. So it's what sort of over top as well. So I have one, we're gonna try together. So I have this, it's texture paste, but I think it's a lot of like Liquitex inks and paint. So I thought, why don't we experiment together and see what we end up with. So I have parchment, and I used the cardstock there for a bit extra. And my foil, all my foils are Deco foil I'm using. Now I have my laminator over here. You can see it if you want. I'm just going to run it through. By now you probably know how a laminator works, so we can continue talking while that is doing its thing. So that's just gonna run through. So we're gonna move on here. So this one was the Crafter's Workshop Shimmery Goodness. This is it here, Shimmery Goodness. And again, you can see it wasn't solid, but it picked up. You see it? So the shimmery is the white, and then I use the silver. And you can see here where it picked it up in the design. So that was sort of cool. And then here was another one with the Shimmery Goodness. So this one really picked it up. But so here's the difference. This Shimmery Goodness had distress inks underneath it, or over top of it. Sprays. It was the distress sprays over top of the Shimmery Goodness. This Shimmery Goodness had the gloss sprays sprayed over top of it. And so you can see how this one is pretty solid, and the sprays, distress sprays, gives it the sort of random pattern. So again, excuse me, it's the acrylic that's picking it up as well as the paste. So I have one here that I'm going to put through. This one's done. We'll reveal this one in a moment, see what happened. So this is going to be the Shimmery Goodness with, it was Distress Oxides was sprayed over top. So I'm going to use orange, and we'll see what we end up with. And I'm going to put that in there and let it do its thing. So we're going to come back to this one. So remember, this was this idea where we had the texture paste and paints and stuff. So let's see what it does here. Whoa, look at that. So you can see on here, this shows you where it was picked up. And all of that, that was the Liquitex inks that was coming down there, I think. And then again, the paint, can you see, am I doing it so you can see it? The paint on the texture. So now you can add acrylic paints to your list of things that you can foil with. And again, all these mediums have to be dry. Do not use anything wet. But anyway, so that's really cool too. Oh, and our Shimmery Goodness is finishing up, so we'll catch up with that one before we move on. So we had, this was with Distress Sprays. This one was with the Gloss Acrylic Spray. And then this one is with Oxide Sprays. So let's see what happened. So here you can see not much. So it's not necessarily the Shimmery Goodness that was picking it up. It was the acrylic paint, I think, that was picking it up. So you get a little tiny bit, and maybe, sorry, can you see the little, so, you know, maybe you could do something with it, but I don't know if it's enough that I would go to the effort of foiling. Okay. And then this one was is the Deco Foil Metallics in the cream. And so then I did it, and I got a little bit of gold. And so I think it's sort of interesting because you could do, like, you don't want to cover this because, you know, the whole point of the metallics foil is the color, the metallics already, right? That you don't have to foil it. But I think by doing it, you do get sort of that two-tone, right? So you can have the pearl underneath and then a bit of, I did orange on it. And you can see here how much picked up. So you could do a two-tone thing, which is sort of cool with the foil things. So overall, I think, let's just sort of recap. We had so much going on. Let's get our samples back here. So when it comes to texture pastes, you're just going to get that outline. And it's sort of hit and miss because, as we said, on some other ones we didn't really get anything. Like on this one, that we didn't get anything. On this one we got an outline. So the texture paste, so-so. Then, however, you add in that acrylic paint, the gloss, and now you are rolling in foil. And so what I did is I showed you a few videos back. This was like texture paste, sort of like this, and then I sprayed over it with the acrylic gloss spray. So that one is very cool. And again, when it came to this, I think it was mainly that acrylic gloss spray. It was a no on this, the black. And here we had a lot. So I think when it comes down to it, what you want to use is collage mediums, multi-mediums. They will work great. And acrylic paint works really well, obviously, with this one. Those are the two. So anything with acrylic and distress collage mediums, and I think you're rolling and you'll be able to create a whole bunch of cool mixed media pieces. But hopefully, just by showing you what works and what doesn't work, here's some more. It might get your, ideas rolling, and you may think of something else to try. It's always good to have fun and to experiment and test stuff out. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. In the meantime, here are a couple other videos you might be interested in watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.